For decades, the fitness industry has drilled one message into the minds of millions: calorie deficit is the only path to fat loss. It has become a doctrine, a rule carved into stone, repeated in gyms, magazines, apps, and classrooms. People were told that to get lean, they must eat less and move more, that to transform their bodies, they must endure hunger, or that fat loss requires sacrifice, suffering, and discipline, pushed to the edge. The scale became the scoreboard, the mirror became the enemy, and food, it became a threat. But now, finally, that narrative is collapsing under the weight of truth. A new study has changed everything. This isn't speculation. This isn't hype. This is science pulling the rug from beneath one of the most accepted beliefs in fitness history. The research is clear and the results are shocking. Fat can be lost and muscle can be built simultaneously without putting the body in a calorie deficit. That's right. Without starving, without slashing portions, without turning meals into math problems or workouts into punishment. The body doesn't need to be drained to evolve. It needs to be directed. The implications of this discovery are massive because this study doesn't just poke holes in old methods, it tears them apart. It proves that body recomposition, the process of burning fat and gaining muscle at the same time, is not only possible but far more accessible than ever imagined. It shows that the body is not a static equation, not some simplistic in-out machine. It's a complex, adaptive, and intelligent system. And when treated with precision, not punishment, it responds in powerful ways. For too long, people were stuck in cycles of exhaustion, cutting calories, losing weight, only to find they've also lost energy, strength, and mental clarity. The so-called success of the diet came at the cost of muscle loss, hormone disruption, and long-term metabolic damage. And when the weight crept back, as it often did, it returned in the form of fat, not strength. The body became weaker, not stronger, slower, not faster. But this new science changes the landscape. It reveals that the real key isn't restriction, it's recomposition through optimized training, nutrient timing, and macronutrient balance. Forget everything that was taught about transformation being a war against the body. This study proves it's not about breaking the body down, it's about building it up in the right direction. When resistance training is introduced, when protein intake is dialed in, when sleep and stress are managed, the body doesn't need to be deprived to be refined. In fact, when given the right tools, it thrives. Muscle is built, fat is burned, and all of it can happen at calorie maintenance or even in a mild surplus. This is not a loophole. It's not a shortcut. It's the future of transformation. And it's grounded in performance, not punishment. The metabolic shift isn't triggered by starvation, but by signaling, smart strategic inputs that tell the body exactly what to do. It's not about eating less, it's about eating better. It's not about burning out in the gym, it's about training with intent. And it's not about chasing weight loss for the sake of a smaller number. It's about cultivating a stronger, leaner, more resilient body that performs at its peak, not just looks the part. The most powerful part of this discovery is its accessibility. This isn't reserved for elite athletes or genetic anomalies. It works for anyone willing to reprogram their approach. Anyone ready to stop chasing numbers on a scale and start mastering their biology. Anyone who refuses to accept the outdated belief that fat loss must come with weakness, that muscle can only be earned through sacrifice, or that transformation requires suffering. This isn't the old way rebranded. It's the truth unleashed. This is the line in the sand. The game has changed. The rules are rewritten, and the future belongs to those who embrace this shift. No more counting crumbs, no more fearing food, no more thinking that less is more. The era of deficit is over. The era of intelligent transformation has begun, and it's time to stop surviving the process and start thriving through it. The idea that the body must be starved into change is a myth that has lived far too long. It has led generations to believe that transformation requires suffering, that the only way to see results is through relentless restriction, and that discipline is defined by how well one can endure hunger. This belief has not only failed countless individuals, it has damaged them physically, mentally, emotionally. And now, finally, it's time to bury that myth once and for all. The truth is emerging, a truth that doesn't require self-punishment or endless subtraction. The evidence is mounting. Caloric restriction is not the master key to body transformation. Yes, a deficit can cause short-term weight loss, but at what cost? Or what's being lost along with the fat? The answer often is muscle mass, hormonal balance, and metabolic health. The body begins to slow down, not speed up. It begins to hold on to fat as a survival mechanism. And the very thing people are trying to burn becomes even harder to release. This is why people fail, not from lack of effort, but from following a flawed system. Because cutting calories too aggressively sends the body into defense mode. It doesn't see a fitness goal, it sees a threat. It responds by conserving energy, reducing performance, and clinging to stored fat. Hunger hormones spike, metabolism crashes, lean tissue wastes away, and before long, the process becomes unsustainable. The initial weight loss plateaus, energy vanishes, and the rebound begins, often worse than the starting point. Now contrast that with what the latest study revealed: individuals consuming maintenance level or slightly above maintenance calories with a focus on high protein intake and resistance training experienced a simultaneous increase in lean muscle and a decrease in body fat. No deficit, no starvation, no depletion, just strategic fueling and intelligent training. The body responded not with stress, but with strength, not with breakdown, but with adaptation. This is the difference between old science and new understanding. The traditional approach treated food as the enemy. Calories were the villain. Meals became guilt-ridden equations. But food is not the problem. The problem is misinformation. The problem is obsession with subtraction instead of precision. The problem is treating everybody the same, ignoring individuality, hormonal responses, and lifestyle variables. This new model shatters that one-size-fits-all formula. It replaces starvation with sustainability. It replaces restriction with optimization. The emphasis is no longer on how little can be eaten, but how strategically the body can be fueled. Macronutrient quality over calorie quantity, nutrient timing over meal skipping, resistance training over cardio abuse, strength over starvation. What makes this breakthrough so critical is the psychological liberation it offers. No more guilt for eating, no more anxiety over every bite, no more shame tied to meals, because now food becomes a tool, not an obstacle. Protein becomes fuel for growth. Carbs become recovery power. Fats become hormonal support. Everything has purpose. Everything works together. And the outcome isn't temporary weight loss. It's lasting body recomposition. This is more than just science. It's a new foundation for transformation. It provides freedom from the lies that told people they weren't disciplined enough, that they didn't want it badly enough, that failure was a personal flaw, not a flawed system. But the failure wasn't in the effort, it was in the method. The deficit-focused approach was never designed for longevity. It was built for quick fixes, not lasting change. Now the focus shifts away from depletion and toward direction, away from fear of food and toward mastery of nutrition, away from burnout and toward balance. The human body is incredibly adaptive, but it responds best to intelligent, intentional strategies, not to punishment. And when given the proper inputs, it does something extraordinary. It builds, it burns, and it balances, all without being starved into submission. So the starvation myth dies here, not quietly, but completely. Its time is over. The lie has been exposed, and the path forward is clear. Muscle can be gained, fat can be lost, and it doesn't require suffering. It requires understanding. It requires application of truth, and it requires leaving behind the old narrative that said pain is the price of progress. Because progress without pain is not only possible, it's proven. Muscle is not just a byproduct of training. It is not simply for appearance, aesthetics, or strength. Muscle is the ultimate metabolic weapon. It is the engine of the human body's transformation. The more muscle that is built, the more efficient the body becomes at burning fat, not just during exercise, but all day, every day. Muscle turns the body into a machine that consumes energy with purpose, precision, and relentless efficiency. Every pound of muscle added to the body increases the resting metabolic rate. That means even at rest, while sitting, sleeping, or simply existing, a body with more muscle burns more calories than a body with less. Muscle changes the very way energy is used. It doesn't just help burn fat. It demands that fat be burned. It rewires the body's priorities. It shifts the metabolic focus from storing to shredding. And this shift is not hypothetical. It is measurable, repeatable, and real. The recent study unveiled a powerful finding. Individuals who increased their muscle mass through resistance training and high-protein nutrition without entering a calorie deficit lost fat and gained lean tissue at the same time. The process wasn't driven by starvation. It was driven by muscle stimulation and growth. When muscle is developed properly, the body adapts by fueling that growth through stored fat. In simple terms, the body becomes more metabolically active, more capable of transformation because muscle accelerates the internal engine. This is the opposite of what happens with most traditional dieting. Those who follow severe calorie deficits often lose muscle along with fat. The number on the scale goes down, but the quality of the weight loss is poor. Muscle is stripped away. Metabolism slows, and fat loss becomes harder, not easier. But when the focus shifts to muscle preservation and muscle gain, something incredible happens. The body begins to favor fat as fuel while holding onto lean tissue. And that is the secret to lasting, powerful change. Muscle doesn't just reshape the body, it redefines what the body is capable of. It increases insulin sensitivity, allowing nutrients to be absorbed and used more efficiently. It improves hormonal health, supporting testosterone, growth hormone, and metabolic regulators. It boosts endurance, strength, and recovery. It provides structure, posture, power, and protection. And it creates a physique that is not just lean, but strong, stable, and high-performing. The traditional obsession with losing weight has blinded people to what really matters, body composition. It's not about weighing less. It's about carrying more muscle and less fat. It's about what the body is made of, not just what the scale says. And muscle is the key driver of that composition. It is the dividing line between transformation and temporary success. More importantly, muscle is sustainable. Unlike fat loss achieved through extreme dieting, muscle is not fleeting. It doesn't vanish the moment one returns to a normal lifestyle. It stays. It anchors progress. It makes the next phase easier. And with every pound of muscle built, the body becomes more resistant to fat gain and more responsive to training. It builds momentum, and that momentum becomes unstoppable. This is why muscle must be prioritized, not as a bonus, but as the central goal. Every training session should be designed with muscle development in mind. Every meal should support protein synthesis. Every decision should honor the goal of building, not breaking down, because every ounce of muscle added makes the body more capable, more efficient, and more powerful. This isn't just about physique, it's about physiology. It's about mastering the engine of transformation instead of constantly trying to restart it. Muscle is not vanity, it is victory. It is the leverage point that changes everything. And it doesn't require a deficit to be built. It requires intention, consistency, and the courage to reject outdated beliefs that told people they had to shrink to succeed. The truth is this: muscle multiplies progress. It burns calories while others sleep. It accelerates fat loss while others plateau. It enhances every other system in the body: heart, brain, hormones, immune function. Muscle is more than mass. It is a message to the body: adapt, evolve, grow. And once that message is understood and applied, the game changes forever. So the path is clear. Stop chasing smaller. Start chasing stronger. Build the engine. Fire it up. And let muscle turn the body into what it was always meant to be: a lean, capable, unstoppable force. Calories are only part of the equation. They are not the entire story, and never were. The true regulators of fat loss and muscle gain operate deeper, quieter, and more powerfully than any number printed on a label. These regulators are hormones, the internal messengers that dictate how the body stores, burns, and builds. And understanding them is no longer optional, it's essential, because the most successful transformations are not driven by starvation, but by hormonal mastery. Hormones are not guesswork. They are science. They are chemical signals that either open or close the doors to fat burning, muscle growth, energy utilization, and recovery. And their activity is influenced not just by how much is eaten, but by what is eaten, how one trains, how one sleeps, and how stress is managed. The old model ignored these forces. It focused only on calories in and calories out. But this model is outdated and dangerously incomplete. Take insulin, for example, commonly demonized but deeply misunderstood. Insulin is not the enemy, it's a tool, a powerful one. When managed properly through nutrient timing and controlled carbohydrate intake, insulin helps shuttle nutrients directly into muscle cells, aiding growth and recovery. But when mismanaged through processed foods, poor sleep, or inactivity, insulin becomes a signal to store fat instead. It's not the presence of insulin that's the problem. It's the context in which it's activated. And context is built through lifestyle. Then there's leptin and ghrelin, the hormones that govern hunger and satiety. When in balance, they communicate clearly. They say when to eat and when to stop. But prolonged calorie deficits distort these signals. Hunger becomes louder, satisfaction becomes silent, cravings spiral, control is lost, and the body, fearing starvation, slows metabolism and clings to fat. The cycle becomes self-destructive. But when the body is properly nourished, especially with high-protein meals and nutrient-dense foods, these hormones stabilize. Hunger becomes manageable, cravings fade, and eating becomes a process of fuel, not fight. Cortisol, the stress hormone, is another silent saboteur. In small bursts, it's useful. It mobilizes energy for action. But chronic elevation from poor recovery, lack of sleep, overtraining, or mental pressure creates chaos. It signals the body to store fat, especially around the midsection, and break down muscle tissue. The body perceives this stress as danger, and in turn, it begins to hoard resources. Even in a calorie deficit, fat loss slows, muscle deteriorates, results vanish. The solution isn't more restriction, it's more regulation, adequate rest, quality sleep, intelligent training, strategic recovery. These control cortisol, and when cortisol is under control, the body becomes leaner, calmer, and more responsive. And then comes testosterone and growth hormone, the anabolic giants. These are the builders. They promote muscle synthesis, fat oxidation, energy, and performance, but they do not thrive under deficit. Starvation suppresses them, stress cripples them, overtraining drains them. The study revealed that participants who ate at maintenance or slight surplus levels with optimized training and protein intake showed improvements in these key hormones. Their bodies were not just maintaining, they were growing. And while they gained lean tissue, they lost fat simultaneously. The hormones were not resisting the process, they were driving it. What this proves is simple. When the internal environment is aligned, the external transformation follows effortlessly. It's not about chasing the scale, it's about triggering the right hormonal responses. It's about training in a way that signals growth, eating in a way that supports performance, sleeping in a way that repairs the body, and living in a way that respects balance. The reason most diets fail is not due to lack of willpower. It's because they ignore the endocrine system. They treat the body as a calculator, not a chemistry lab. But the body is not a basic machine. It's a biological miracle. Every hormone is a switch, and those switches must be flipped in the right order, under the right conditions. Do it right, and the body becomes a masterpiece of precision and progress. Do it wrong, and even the most disciplined efforts collapse. The real advantage lies in hormonal alignment. It's the edge that separates long-term success from short-term struggle, and it does not require deprivation to unlock. It requires a smarter approach, a more complete understanding, a respect for the body's intricate design. Transformation begins inside. The physique is the byproduct, and the hormones are the architects. Fat loss, muscle growth, energy, recovery, all begin with hormonal control. And now with this new method, control is no longer a mystery. It's a choice. Transformation doesn't happen by accident. It's not random. It's not luck. It's the outcome of precision, of making the right choices at the right time consistently. And at the heart of that precision lies one undeniable truth. Protein is power, not just for bodybuilders, not just for athletes, but for anyone who wants to reshape their body and ignite their metabolism without cutting calories into oblivion. Protein is the cornerstone, the foundation, the nutrient that turns potential into performance and fuels fat loss without ever requiring starvation. When people think of protein, they often think only of muscle repair, but its role goes far beyond recovery. Protein is thermogenic. That means the body burns more calories digesting and processing protein than it does with carbs or fats. Simply by increasing protein intake, the body expends more energy, even while at rest. This effect compounds over time, creating an environment where fat loss is naturally supported and muscle is preserved. Protein also plays a critical role in satiety, the feeling of fullness that ends cravings and stabilizes appetite. When the body receives adequate protein, it sends a clear signal. It's nourished, it's strong, it's balanced. This reduces the constant hunger and snacking that derail so many attempts at change. Unlike low-calorie diets that spike cravings and leave people feeling empty, high-protein nutrition makes adherence sustainable. It doesn't fight the body, it supports it, but protein alone isn't enough. Precision is the multiplier. It's not just about eating more protein, it's about knowing how much, when, and with what. The new method doesn't guess, it calculates. It aligns intake with goals, with training output, with recovery windows. It uses protein to stimulate muscle protein synthesis at the optimal times, especially post-training, when the body is primed to absorb and rebuild. And it spreads intake across the day, ensuring a steady supply of amino acids to support growth while minimizing fat storage. The study that shattered the calorie deficit myth highlighted this exact principle. Participants didn't just eat at maintenance, they prioritized protein strategically. They didn't reduce energy intake, they increased nutrient efficiency. And the results were profound. Lean muscle mass increased, body fat decreased, strength improved, all without hunger, all without deprivation. The only change was focus, precision, execution. What this proves is powerful. The body doesn't need less food, it needs the right fuel. Protein becomes the signal. It tells the body to build, not break down, to burn fat, not muscle, to adapt and grow stronger. And when combined with resistance training, this signal becomes amplified. Training tears muscle fibers with intention, protein repairs them with purpose. The result? Growth, definition, recomposition. Too often people obsess over calories but overlook quality. They cut and cut, but they don't build. They restrict, but they don't recover. They measure what they eat, but not what it means to their physiology. This is the old way, unsustainable, incomplete, and ultimately ineffective. Precision replaces this with power. It demands awareness. It demands customization. And when done correctly, it produces results that not only last, they compound over time. Precision isn't about perfection. It's about direction, about putting the body in the optimal state to evolve without forcing it into a corner. It's about choosing whole nutrient-dense sources, lean meats, fish, eggs, legumes, whey, casein, and plant-based proteins that support internal balance. It's about aligning macronutrient ratios based on output, metabolism, and hormonal goals. And it's about respecting recovery as much as effort. because no transformation happens without both. The truth is, protein and precision are not just tools, they are levers. And when pulled the right way, they unlock potential most never access. They break the plateau, they eliminate the confusion, they create a roadmap that leads not just to short-term wins, but to lifelong transformation. And that's the difference between random effort and calculated success. There is no need to suffer through hunger, no need to fear food, no need to sacrifice health for aesthetics, because now there is a path that honors both. A path built on strength, not starvation. Precision, not punishment. Protein, not panic. And that path is open to anyone willing to learn, apply, and execute. The world is filled with people training harder than ever, yet seeing fewer results. They sweat, they push, they grind themselves into the ground day after day, thinking that effort alone is the answer. But effort without direction is energy wasted. Hard work is not enough. In fact, when it comes to real transformation, hard work without strategy can backfire. What the new science reveals is undeniable. The key to lasting change is not just intensity, it is intelligence. It's time to stop blindly training hard and start training smart. Smart training is not about burning the most calories. It's not about chasing exhaustion. It's not about collapsing on the floor after every workout. That's not success, that's survival. Smart training is about using resistance as a tool, not as a punishment. It's about understanding that muscle is the engine, and training must be designed to build and preserve it, not just burn fuel. The breakthrough study proves this clearly. Participants who focused on resistance-based workouts, heavy compound lifts with progressive overload, were able to gain lean muscle while simultaneously losing body fat, all without reducing calories. Their training wasn't random, it was targeted. It sent a message to the body: grow stronger, hold muscle, burn fat, and the body listened. This is the shift the world must embrace. The goal is no longer to do more, it's to do better. Every rep must serve a purpose. Every set must send a signal. That signal tells the body what to adapt to. And when it's paired with the right recovery, the results compound. Strength increases, muscle builds, fat disappears. Not because the body is punished, but because it is being directed with clarity. Traditional high-volume cardio routines have long been praised for their fat-burning potential, but what they often do, especially when combined with calorie deficits, is erode muscle mass, disrupt hormones, and lead to plateaus. They drain rather than develop. That's not transformation, that's deterioration. Smart training replaces this with strength-based sessions, squats, deadlifts, pulls, pushes, carried out with focus and intention. These movements engage the entire body, they stimulate growth, they build not only muscle, but also discipline, stability, and metabolic firepower. And it doesn't stop there. Smart training respects the laws of recovery because transformation doesn't happen during the workout. It happens after. It happens when the nervous system resets, when tissues repair, when muscles rebuild. Without recovery, there is no progress. This means sleep is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It means deload weeks are not weakness. They're strategy. It means that rest days are not the enemy. They are the foundation of growth. Smart training also adapts with the body. It evolves, it tracks performance. It uses metrics that matter: progressive overload, improved strength, increased volume capacity, not just how tired one feels at the end. It values execution over exhaustion. It understands that more isn't better, better is better. And when this approach is integrated with high-protein nutrition, hormonal optimization, and proper recovery, the body begins to respond in powerful ways. Fat doesn't need to be chased. It begins to fall away naturally. Muscle doesn't need to be hoped for. It begins to form with consistency. And all of it happens without needing to reduce calories to dangerous lows. This is the future of fitness: intelligent, effective, sustainable. No more chasing trends, no more guessing games, no more pushing the body to the brink just to see temporary results. Instead, every rep is an investment. Every session is a message. Every training cycle is a step toward a stronger, leaner, more capable body that performs as well as it looks. The old way told people to suffer for change. The new way teaches them to train for it, to use science, structure, and feedback, to build, not break, to evolve, not erode. It's not about proving toughness. It's about unlocking potential. And that potential doesn't come from punishment. It comes from precision, or from programming, from smart, calculated decisions made over time. The body is always listening. The only question is, what message is being sent? Train with purpose, train with strategy, train with strength in mind. Because smart training doesn't just change the body, it changes what the body believes is possible. And once the body believes, it becomes unstoppable.